Hello and good day to you. My name's Christine Mavis and I'm a certified traditional naturopath. And if you would like, you may like and subscribe to my channel by clicking the thumbs up button and the subscribe button down below. This helps to support the channel and it is at no cost or any obligation to you. In my recent video I had some basic discussion about the coronavirus epidemic that we are currently having. And in that video I had just briefly mentioned that there were some herbals that were deemed useful for coronaviruses in general based on a book by Stephen Buhner. And so some people had asked me if I could expound a little bit more on some of the herbs, and so that's what I am attempting to do to you today. It is a kind of a complex amount of information, so I am going to move forward on it as best I can. And if someone wants detailed information, I highly recommend buying the book. You can order the book on Amazon, and you can get the Kindle version right now for $2.99. And this is the book. It's Herbal Antivirals by Stephen Harrod Buhner. Okay, and so before I show you the notes that I'm working on with this and other things that would be great to show you, I want to mention that in his book there's a lot of great reference to some of our great medical journals in our country. And some of these journals are the Journal of Clinical Virology, the Journal of Virology, the Journal of Immunology, the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, the European Journal of Medical Research, and the journal Immunopathology and Infectious Disease. So he has, painstakingly, gone out there and derived all this information and culminated that with his long experience working with antivirals and antibiotics in the herbal kingdom. But in order to help you understand a little bit more about these herbs, I need to mention to you a little bit about just the very basic mechanism that viruses use in order to infect the cells. What happens is these viruses have an envelope around them, and the coronavirus included has an envelope. I think not all viruses do, but many or most of them do. And so we've got this viral envelope surrounding the virus, and inside the envelope is another coating around the genome. The genome is the genetic material that viruses carry, and that other protective layer is called the capsid. That surrounds the genome that's in the middle, and that is the part that infects you, and this is what the virus would like to replicate or reproduce in order to produce more viruses, and then this just is what spreads infection in general. But what happens is the envelope of the virus attaches to the human cell, and then it is taken into the cell largely by endocytosis, and then the virus has entered the cell at that point. And so then it travels through the cytoplasm toward the nucleus of the cell, and the nucleus of our human mammalian cells is where we hold our genome or our DNA. And so then what it does is it enters into that nucleus, it puts its genomic material in there, and then that programs our genetic material in that cell to reproduce some of this genome that the virus has and needs for its replication. And there are DNA and RNA viruses. The coronavirus is an RNA virus, and it is denoted to be an RNA virus because it holds a ribose sugar within the molecule of its genome. And it gets very complicated, but that's generally what I wanted to mention. One other thing I wanted to mention are just some great ways to try to avoid it. One thing is to just avoid areas where people are infected. If you know someone has the infection, you really shouldn't visit them. Send them a nice email, give them a phone call, send them a text message, let them know you're thinking of them. But in this situation, it's really not appropriate to go visit them. You want to stay away from that. There are other things you can do, like get an N95 mask. And it looks to me online like these can be purchased from Walmart. And I'm sure you can purchase them from Amazon as well, probably. It's good to try to get one that touts that it is effective for viruses. This virus operates by people coughing or sneezing, and the particles go out into the air, and then if they attach to the mucous membrane of another person, then that's a human-to-human transmission. And so it can attach up the nose, in the mouth, and even around the eyes. So I highly recommend getting the N95 mask, but also some wraparound glasses, and you can get some fairly cheap, like plastic wraparound glasses, and they can often fit right over your regular glasses if you wear glasses, you know, or just to wear like a regular glasses if you don't wear glasses. So I mean, these are some other ways to try to help avoid if for some reason your area would become you know, part of the pandemic or whatever, or become epidemic in your particular area. And so I'm going to talk for a moment about some things we can use. We want to get into the herbals. And I just want to mention that I'm only mentioning a few of these herbals. But Stephen Buhner lists more than what I'm talking about. He sort of highlights the ones I'm going to mention, but he also has an exhaustive list. It's a nice list of maybe another 15 herbs that possibly could be used for the coronavirus in general on page 58 of his book. And so we will go out and look at some notes, and then I will discuss more about the herbs with you now. Okay, so one thing I wanted to discuss was a supplement called Oscillococcinum. This particular homeopathic preparation, it has a low risk of side effects, and currently, according to the literature, has no contraindications. This you can purchase at your local pharmacy or in health food stores and so forth, and they're just small white tablets that you put under your tongue, and you can follow the directions on the box as far as how to use this. And this is recommended to be used just as soon as you think you might be coming down with something. It can be preventative. If you've already been sick for a few days, it's not really effective according to the literature. But it's extremely good for stopping the development of some of the respiratory viruses. The moment you feel the first tingling sensation in your body that tells you you're about to get sick, that is when you should start taking it. And they come as little sugar granules in tiny tubes, and you take one tube every 6 hours, 3 per day for 2 or 3 days in a row. And that often is enough to stop or at least slow an infection down. So that is one thing that can be used, and it's not an herbal, but it is a useful homeopathic remedy. And these remedies are more energetic. So I already mentioned that we should avoid infected areas and infected people, and it's good to get an N95 mask on Amazon or at Walmart, and some wraparound glasses. So now I'm just going to discuss 4 of the herbals that were a little more highlighted regarding coronaviruses in general. And also, after I talk about those, I'm going to revisit the use of 4 essential oils for coronaviruses that are recommended in Buhner's book. Okay, so the first one is the Chinese skullcap. The Chinese skullcap is a broad-spectrum antiviral. It inhibits viral replication, so it stops the virus from reproducing itself. It suppresses viral gene expression, which is helpful because if the virus is stopped from expressing its genes, then it cannot go through with all the infectivity involved in the cell, and it can prevent other cells from becoming infected. It reduces the viral RNA, which is good. If there's less viral RNA, then there's less RNA out there to disrupt our cells. And it also inhibits viral fusion with cells, so it stops this virus from attaching to our cell membrane in the first place. And it also interferes with the viral cell entry into our cells by interacting with the viral envelope proteins. This virus also inhibits release from the infected cells. One thing that's good to know about this particular herb is that it can lower the blood pressure and it can lower the glucose levels. So it's something to pay attention to, especially if you already have low blood pressure and if you already have low blood glucose too, or hypoglycemia. Now there are different species involved with this Chinese skullcap. The Chinese skullcap that he discusses in the book is Houttuynia bicalensis. And there are other species of Houttuynia, but they are not the one that he's referring to in this book, so it's good to use what he's discussing. The very practical way to use this herb is to buy the root tincture. He recommends buying it from Elk Mountain Herbs, and they are online at www.elkmountainherbs.com. And I also bought a really nice bottle of root tincture from the Montana Pharmacy in Eureka, Montana, www.montanapharmacy.com. So you can follow the directions on the container of the tincture to use this herb in a practical way if you would decide that's something you want to do. It's also important to note that if you're pregnant or nursing, this is not for you. And I always recommend that people do a little bit of research before they take something because everybody's different. And for example, if you know that you are allergic to Houttuynia plants, then this herb's not for you. But I think many people in general can do well with this one, and it is considered in traditional Chinese medicine to be one of the 50 main herbs to use. So that's good to know. And so the next herb is called Houttuynia, and the species that is usually used with this is Houttuynia cordata. And this herb is a little bit less practical to use, but it can be used in conjunction with some of these others to help ward off this virus. This one particularly should be used in a fresh tincture. And sometimes those are hard to find, but Buhner says that this company, Woodland Essence, does have the fresh tincture. Many of the tinctures are made with the dried herb. This one needs to be used fresh because if it's dried, then the constituents that are antiviral apparently become less potent. And they are located at www.woodlandessence.com. But at any rate, this one is also discussed as being used in salads. People will grow the plant and then use some of the leaves in their salads. And some people have made decoctions or teas from the fresh plant too. And this one also interferes with the function of the viral envelope, so it has a hard time attaching to the human cell. And it's directly virucidal, so it'll kill the virus on the spot if it contacts it. And it also stops the virion release from the infected cells, and it prevents infection if it's taken prophylactically, which I thought was interesting because, this can also be used if you know that you've been exposed to the virus and you're just concerned and are trying to find ways to make sure that you don't end up ill. Taking something that's prophylactic is very helpful. So that's what this one is also good for. I may decide to take the Chinese skullcap as well if I think I've been exposed to it. So you can also buy the seeds for this plant from Horizon Herbs online, and they've changed their name now to Strictly Medicinal Seeds. So if you decide you want to grow the plant and make some fresh teas or salads or something, that's where you can get those seeds. And then the next herb on the list is Isatis, and the species that they talk mostly about is Isatis tinctoria. And you can buy this tincture at Sage Woman Herbs, www.sagewomanherbs.com. I happened to purchase some of this a couple of years ago for other antiviral reasons, and I bought mine at www.woodlandessence.com. So this is another one that's good to use, and it's also directly virucidal. It inhibits viral replication. It inhibits the viral attachment to cells. there's a little bit more information I wanted to give you on this one. It's also a broad-spectrum antiviral, and it's also directly virucidal. It inhibits viral replication. It inhibits virus attachment to cells, and it does other things as well. It's an immune stimulant, and it also is helpful if you've gotten a viral vaccine. It can help to potentiate it, and among other things, this particular herb is good for. And Buhner does cite this herb for other uses as well. And some of these herbs and the Oscillococcinum also are used for flu, and he does reference using things that help to prevent or help with the flu to be also helpful for coronaviruses in general. Many of the things, and he talks about this in his book. And so then the last herb that is sort of highlighted among other herbs is licorice. And I've got there on the board the genus and species name of that, the Glyriza glabrata. That's the species that you want. It also says to exercise some caution if someone's pregnant. Licorice can be used pretty happily, but if you're doing high concentrations of licorice over long periods of time, then it can cause problems. I mean, I use licorice in some of my teas, and I think to take it for 3 or even for 2-3 weeks generally is not mentioned to be a problem in the literature. But because I enjoy teas, I have licorice tea. I bought some licorice tea. Let's see, it says here that licorice is non-toxic even in high doses. However, long-term use, especially if you use the herb as a single rather than in combination, and especially if you use large doses, can cause a number of rather serious effects. Even the use of a tea over several years will do it. And every now and then, due to the rather good range of effects the herb has, someone does. This herb should rarely be used in isolation or in large doses for long periods. And that means, he says, don't use it longer than about a month. Some of the side effects can be edema, which is swelling, weak limbs, spastic numbness, dizziness, headache, hypertension, severe potassium depletion, especially in the elderly. And other things it can do is to decrease plasma renin and aldosterone levels. But this is really after a long use of it. I've used licorice off and on in teas for years, and I've never had any problem. So it's just a matter of exercising, good common sense. A number of studies have found that large doses of licorice taken long-term during pregnancy have detrimental effects on the unborn children. So it looks like low doses are probably okay, but if I was pregnant, I just probably would forego using this. And so that's most of what is out there regarding licorice, but it's kind of fun. You can use your tinctures and then drink your licorice tea. Kind of a nice thing to do. So then also in Buhner's book, some other things that can be useful for general coronaviruses are essential oils. And 4 of those that he mentions in his book are sage, rosemary, thyme, and eucalyptus. And I have not personally used the thyme for a long time, and I did order these essential oils, but I have not received the thyme yet. But at any rate, I'm going to show you kind of a fun way to use these oils in a diffuser at home. It's another precautionary measure. It's also something you can do if you think that you could have had some exposure. You could take a couple of these tinctures. You could put these essential oils into a diffuser, and hopefully avoid the infection to begin with your N95 mask, your wraparound glasses, and avoiding infected people. So I will be showing you how to use an essential oil diffuser. How to use a diffuser. Here's my diffuser, It is, this one was produced by a company called Now that I like very much, but there are also other diffusers that are similar that are very good out there, and they can be purchased on Amazon or in your local health food store as well. And so the way that we use this is I take the top off of this, and there are some some interesting little things inside there. And so these are 3 of the 4 essential oils I've mentioned to you. So the first thing I do is take maybe about 6 ounces of water and put it into a container. And so now I'm just going to put about 2 drops of each herb. And if I had the thyme essential oil, if I had that as well, I would also add 2 drops of that to this. So here's just 2 drops. And that was probably a little more than 2. That came out quickly. That's the rosemary. And here's some sage. And here's some eucalyptus. And some of these essential oils I'm using are from Eden's Garden. It's www.edensgarden.com, and I'll put that in the notes below. You can also buy some pretty great essential oils from Young Living and also doTERRA, and there are probably some other good companies out there. So I've got those in there, so I'm just stirring these with a little plastic spoon here to mix that up good. So then I take my water with the essential oils infused and pour it into the bottom, into the base of my diffuser here. And then I take the top and I set it on. And this diffuser is plugged into the wall. It's electrical. And so now you can see, I don't know if you can see, but the button's red, which means that the electricity is coming into it, but it hasn't started diffusing yet. So I just push this button, and then, I don't know, you can probably see some of this coming out, so we can inhale this. And I just let this just diffuse into a room or into the house. If I thought I may have been exposed to that virus, I might just sit near it for a little while. If it becomes too strong, then it's good to walk away. Use some good sense on that. And so that's how we use a diffuser.